the effects of the genocide and how the media participated in inflaming all of that by standing down. And what then surfaced was this Operation Crimson Mist, where groups on the ground were inciting the Hutu and the Tutsi tribes. Of course, this was all a covert operation. And what they had ready on the tarmac near the Hutu tribe were C-130 Hercules planes armed with microwaves that they beamed these microwaves over the Hutus and inflamed their anger, exacerbated an anger that was already there. So they thought this anger was their own, and they became raging murderers.
Remind our listeners how we know that this technology was used in the mid-1990s in Rwanda. How do we know this?
Well, we have the documents. We have Operation Crimson Mist, and you can look up those documents.
I had to crack the nut of the militias. And so I asked Bagasora, I said, listen, let me meet these guys. Let me negotiate with them. And so when I arrived, Bagasora introduced them. And as I was looking at them and shaking their hands, and all of a sudden they disappeared from being human. All of a sudden, something happened that turned them into non-human. And I was not talking with humans. I literally was talking with evil.
It was as if we were taken over by Satan. When Satan is using you, you lose your mind. You are not ourselves. You couldn't be normal and you started butchering people for no reason. We had been attacked by the devil.
Its original title, American Mind Control in Baghdad, Operation Crimson Mist, while the scientists made final adjustments to a large microwave dish mounted on the rear loading ramp of the aircraft. It was this strange and esoteric piece of equipment alone that would directly contribute to the death of more than 1 million African civilians during the 100 days that followed. But then the C-130 Hercules made a carefully calculated pass directly over the advancing Hutu, and they suddenly went berserk. Eyes glazed, the mood of the Hutu crowd went from simple anger to uncontrollable rage, and within minutes, hundreds of assorted Tutsi body parts were flying through the air, creating electronic rage, I should say. What the Hercules crew had just achieved has been an open secret since the late 50s, when researchers accidentally discovered that there is a precise control brainwave for literally everything we do and for everything we feel. Various academics have actually demonstrated some of these effects quasi-publicly over the years, which provides hard reality for skeptics. One of the leading lights in this field is Dr. Elizabeth Rauscher-Weiss, who was a nuclear scientist and researcher at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory and at Stanford Research Institute. Weiss identified specific frequency effects to induce nausea, happiness, and many other behavioral states decades ago. Clearly, Dr. Rauscher-Weiss is an enthusiast. Quote, "Give me the money in 3 months," she boasts, "and I'll be able to affect the behavior of 80% of the people in this town without their knowing it. Remember that in order to be effective in selective crowd behavior augmentation, you must be able to restrict delivery to clearly defined crowds in clearly defined areas. This is achieved by using an extremely high-frequency microwave beam, which is then amplitude modulated at exactly the same rate as the desired control brainwave." And this is what I believe is being used all over these United States of America today, 2020, in the midst of this Bolshevik revolution that we now.
And many people are suspecting that what's happening in the big cities right now is partly due to psychotronic weapons, where people are feeling anger and they just don't know where it's coming from. So EMF is like light, except that it's at a different frequency. And we want to turn FLIR goggles into EMF goggles that pick up 800 megahertz to 2.5 gigahertz. I think that would freak the fuck out of everybody. Zones are. And they're all pointed at something. They're all targeting something. And we've noticed they're targeting churches, schools, wherever people go. They're trying to get the most bang for the buck.